From the News 19 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante. We finally got an 11 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center on Tropical Depression 9. The reason why we still continue a News 19 weather impact alert. Let me show you the latest. Right now, it's currently 300 miles to the northwest, almost northwest, the eastern tip of Cuba. So that puts it right about south of the Bahamas. Very poorly organized still. Winds sustained at 35, gusting to 45 miles an hour. Now moving true north at 7 miles an hour. The big thing that I've been mentioning repeatedly is the pressure, 1,002 millibars. It has strengthened just a hair. Aircraft reconnaissance from the hurricane hunters have been flying around the area of interest pretty much all morning. Well, there's a position and not a lot of cloud coverage with it. Nevertheless, we got over there Hurricane Humberto, which we'll cover in just a moment. But as far as Tropical Depression 9, National Hurricane Center still continues the tropical storm warning for all the Bahamian Islands. And then from West Palm Beach to about Miami, they continue a tropical storm warning, but it's well off the coast. Inland, that part of southeast Florida, they still have a tropical storm watch, and that extends all the way up into West Palm Beach. But from West Palm Beach to Daytona Beach, Florida, that part of the East Coast, all the way inland, or rather right on the coast, they have a tropical storm warning. And then north of Daytona Beach, past Jacksonville, and then into areas around St. Mary, Georgia, Brunswick, they have a tropical storm watch. None of the watches include South Carolina. This is projection. At some point later on tonight, the Tropical Depression 9 will become Tropical Storm Imelda and continue north, gaining a little bit of strength. By tomorrow night, winds will be up to 70 miles an hour. And then by Tuesday, it turns into a Category 1 hurricane. And Imelda is forecasted to continue more northeast. In fact, by Tuesday night and into Wednesday, still a Category 1, getting a little bit of strength, but now moving almost east-northeast away from Florida and Georgia as well as the Carolinas. And then by Thursday, intensifies 90-mile-an-hour winds, but that is going to be approaching Bermuda. Now, the downside about Bermuda is that not only is it in its trajectory, not only is it strengthening, but it's coming in almost backwards from where the island usually gets tropical storms and hurricanes, where they usually come in from the south or southeast or even from the east. So this one is going completely opposite to Bermuda. But the key thing is that it is not showing any indication from the National Hurricane Center that it's heading towards as landfall anywhere in the southeast Atlantic. So you're talking about from Florida all the way up to North Carolina. Big plus. But it's close enough, and as a strong hurricane, Category 1, there is still going to be some kind of impact. But the bottom line is that the tropical storm watches end in Georgia. It does not continue into South Carolina. Great thing. But the timing impact we're going to be looking at for us, that we'll go over in a moment, is pretty much from Monday through Tuesday. Wednesday, it's going to be well far away from us, that at least our weather impacts are not going to be as great. Computer models, or the computer spaghetti models, the vast majority of them at least have it within the same area on the track of the National Hurricane Center. Now, the outliers in particular, and this is one thing that everyone looks at, what is it actually going to come to us? One outlier goes straight north instead of bending where all the other ones are, and actually goes through South Carolina, goes up to the Charleston Battery, heads up to Columbia, makes a U-turn, heads south into areas around Allendale County. That is one computer model. And that computer model is the only one that indicates any direct impact to the Palmetto State. So for all intents and purposes, the consensus and the track is consistent of each and every update we've had. This will now be the 5th update since Friday evening. And at least it's indicating that it is continuing to bend away from us. The waters, if it was going to come up the track that we thought it was back on Friday, all the waters are incredibly warm. In fact, the buoys that are off both the low country and the Grand Strand are registering water temperatures from 86 to over 88 degrees, incredibly warm. Its current track, though, if it gets into these waters, the water temperature is still about 82 to approaching 86 degrees, warm enough to keep it as a Category 1 hurricane, which is forecasted to from Monday to Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning. All those warm waters will at least keep it conducive enough, the fuel to keep a hurricane active. And we know that from the projections, as was already shown, by Wednesday into Thursday, it'll actually intensify to 90-mile-an-hour winds. Again, far away from us. Big, big plus. Now let's talk about Hurricane Humberto. This is still a very powerful hurricane. The 11 o'clock update puts it 450 miles away from the Lesser Antilles, the northern Leeward Islands, far in the eastern Caribbean. Winds 150, gusting to 185 miles an hour. Pressure, it's gone up just a little bit, up to 934 millibars. You could see a very, very well-defined eye, and some people actually give this the name that, as symmetric, perfectly shaped as it is, it looks like a buzzsaw, and you'll hear that catchphrase many times. But the bottom line is that it's a powerful, well-defined, and very large hurricane, and this is one major component of why the impact to us is not going to be as significant as was originally anticipated about 48 hours ago. It's the only weather complex anywhere in the central Atlantic, other than Tropical Depression 9, which is well further west, in the tune of about maybe 700 to 800 miles. All indications right now as a Category 4 that it is going to make its way towards the northwest, but by Monday, winds of 125 miles an hour, so that puts it as a Category 3, it's going to start making a northerly turn. And then as it goes to Tuesday night, winds degrade to 110, which is a Category 2, and then it continues then northeast Wednesday all the way into Thursday. Again, the key component we're talking about why Humberto has been doing this turn, a very broad area of high pressure. It actually extends just to the eastern Bermuda, and it's a very large one sitting right in the middle of the northern central Atlantic. So this is going to turn, wrap around Bermuda, and then head out to sea. It is a very powerful hurricane, and it is close enough to the Tropical Depression 9. All these computer models, except for a few outliers that actually indicate that it's going to actually spin around Bermuda, but the key thing is that all the trajectories still keep it in the same line as the National Hurricane Center. And with Tropical Depression 9 eventually being Irma, Humberto being at least a Category 3 hurricane by Tuesday, here's the implications. Let's put them both together. There is Tropical Depression 9 that'll eventually turn into Tropical Storm Imelda tonight, and then there's Humberto, side by side. These are the projections that not only the National Hurricane Center, but the computer guidance models are showing. There are the tracks, even though the track for Imelda shows it crosses over the track for Humberto. Humberto's already going to be way out of the way once Thursday comes, where Imelda is going to come through. The computer models, and this is the, I'd say, interesting thing, by the time we get to tomorrow night, this will be at this point Tropical Storm Imelda. Not only the National Hurricane Center, but all the spaghetti models are pretty much in line that that's where it's going to go, and none of the computer models are indicating a landfall in Florida. Well, at least we know that Humberto is still going to be very strong. So we go from Monday night into Tuesday morning. Imelda at this point is now a Category 1 hurricane, but it's starting to turn. Same time frame, Humberto is now starting to make a northerly turn. At this point, Humberto is a Category 3 hurricane. It's gone from a 4 to a 3. But if you want to call it dynamically, Humberto is going to be still a very strong hurricane, and it's going to be close enough to Imelda that as it's making its northerly turn, it's actually going to pull Imelda, and that hurricane is going to be majorly influenced by Humberto. And then by the time we get to Tuesday night, Imelda is already turning hard to the right, heading east. It's the back-end influence of Humberto, which at this point now, both the consensus models as well as the National Hurricane Center's track, it's turning to the northeast. Imelda, like a little sister, is just trailing behind Big Brother, and that's the focal point of why all of this has been changing dramatically. Humberto's significant size and strength has been a considerable influence to where Imelda is going to go and what kind of strength Imelda is going to be. So we're not going to be dealing with Imelda at all, at least directly. That's the big plus. The big minus is that with the focal point of the system that's coming through the Carolinas now, as we go throughout the rest of the day and all the way into early tomorrow morning before sunrise, South Carolina and North Carolina have a marginal risk for heavy rainfall, and this is going to be primarily for South Carolina as we go into the late overnight hours and into tomorrow morning before sunrise. So the marginal risk covers the Midlands, pretty much all of our communities on both sides of I-95 all the way to the Low Country and the Grand Strand. As we get into tomorrow after daybreak, so this will be Monday about 8 a.m. through Tuesday morning about 8 a.m. Now we're talking about areas along and both sides of I-95 all the way to just about all of the coast, but particularly for the Midlands, Low Country, and the Grand Strand and inland. And then you get into areas in North Carolina from Wilmington, probably around Lumberton, and all the way across to Morehead City. That area, a slight risk. Now we're talking about heavy rainfall that could lead into minor flooding. But this is now 2 days in a row that the entire Palmetto State is going to have a risk for rainfall. That could be an issue when we go into Monday night if areas have already gotten repeated rainfall, and then we do it all over again on Tuesday. Although the slight area is a little bit shorter, it still is a slight risk. And the marginal risk continues for just about all of the Palmetto State except extreme eastern portions of the upstate by the mountain range. So we've got at least 2 full days and a half day, which really is for today, but late tonight, that we could see repeated heavy rainfall. And keep in mind, we haven't gotten appreciable rain for the entire month of September. Everything is dry. Even with the rainfall that a lot of us have gotten over the last 3 days, the ground is still dry. So a lot of this rainfall that would come in heavy amounts, the ground's just not conducive enough at this point to absorb it all. The good thing is that Wednesday, we're not going to have to deal with any of the rainfall, but we still have to deal with the windy conditions. The rainfall forecast, though, it's going to be pretty much straight down I-77 all the way down to Jasper County, and everybody east of that is going to be the best risk for the heavy rainfall over the next few days. The winds, that's not going to be an issue at all because starting tomorrow and then all the way into Wednesday, any tropical winds are going to be well away from coastal South Carolina. So we're not going to be dealing with the tropical storm winds, and you can even just forget about the hurricane force winds because that is going to be well far away from us, even with Hurricane Imelda. So all of this, at least we're not going to be dealing with a lot. And that is a good thing because the projections we had on Friday was far, far different than we have now. The dramatic change has been because of Hurricane Humberto, as strong as that has been. So again, to wrap up, National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center has tropical storm warnings still in effect for the Bahamas and tropical storm watches and warnings for the east coast of Florida and portions of the southeast coastal Georgia area. This does not include South Carolina. Projections indicate that as we get into later on tonight, Tropical Depression 9 will be renamed Tropical Storm Imelda and will stay like that with 45-mile-an-hour winds all the way up to 70 by Monday night. And by early Tuesday morning, while we're sleeping, It becomes a Category 1 with winds of 75 miles an hour, making a significant turn to the right and heading east-northeast, strengthening Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's heading away from us, and South Carolina is not in the crosshairs at all. We'll have indirect impacts Monday through Wednesday, but at least we're looking at now that we're not going to be getting a direct impact from any hurricanes for the next few days. We'll continue to update all this information. Make sure that you check all of our information. Download on your TV our WLTX Plus. I'm News 19 Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante. Have a good day.
The news doesn't end here. Download WLTX Plus for free on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.